We have experienced a lot more, so let's try to begin from the beginning.
Prabhu, please, they will need every inch of space today. You only have 180 devotees.
Jai जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्रस्य श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रीला भाई चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत गोस्वामी महाराज प्रभुपाद की जय। इस्कॉन विविध संस्थापक आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्रस्य श्रीमद् डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरिगोवर्धन की जय। ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। जमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। कृष्ण भक्ति प्रदायिनी श्रीमती तुलसी महारानी की जय। कलयुग पावन हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय। श्रीला प्रभुपाद ट्रांसलेटर बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन की जय। इस्कॉन सिलिकॉन वैली की जय। श्री राधा मदन मोहन देव की जय। ताई गौर प्रेमानंद ऑल ग्लोरीज टू assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. First of all, thank you very much for coming. It is a great pleasure and privilege that we have His Grace Gaurang Prabhu here out of His fabulous mercy. Just as Navid Muni goes everywhere. So please let us loudly welcome him by chanting Haribo. His Grace Gaurang Prabhu needs no introduction, but there are a lot of our family, friends, neighbors, and some of our office colleagues, and I also take this opportunity glorifying your soul like him, glorifying myself. So, His Grace Gaurang Prabhu, disciple of His Holiness Radhanath Maharaj, has been instrumental, one of the pioneers of the Radha Gopinath temple. And while I'll go through all of his wonderful qualities, one of the best thing I love about him is, I remember for 30 years, once I switched on the television in the morning, and I saw a very young person giving Bhagavad. I think it was Star Plus, I don't remember. I was amazed.
I'm still young.
I remember at Janmashtami, there were times when he would give, was it 6 hours class on Krishna Katha, and that's my favorite, and I still miss those. Apart from that, graduate from IIT, Gaurang Prabhu is also the director and the person, the brain behind GEV, and he has done various amazing program projects helping the youth in various capacities. So it is our sheer good fortune that we have him here to bless us all with the association. So without further delay, should one more thing from the side. I'll have to give some logistic request today. Just today itself, around 20 more devotees joined tonight. So we will need every inch of this. There is more space in the garage and we have some chairs. I would request you devotees, I know devotees are humble by nature, but Mataji, if you can take the chair. We will need every inch today. Prabhuji. And maybe one of the devotees, Sri Gopal Prabhu, if you can also go there. One of you, Prabhu, please take the chair, one of you.
I think
And devotees, logistically, as we have more, there's a television in the garage, and some space behind us as well. Yeah.
She wants to lean back. Thank you.
So now you are. And I may disturb once more for logistic requirements. You will have to push in more.
Are you sure?
Well, it seems, our devotees are coming. The local neighbors and friends are here. Over to you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Jnanatirandasya Jnananjana Shalankaya Chakshurunkalakam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Veshasarini. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much for hosting me here this evening. I'm going to speak on the theme of prayer or Vandanam, which I've been speaking for the last few days. Prayer for various kinds of spiritual aspirations when we are practicing bhakti. One of the themes for prayer is we offer prayer out of a sense of gratitude, and I shared that in a few sessions at LA. And what I'm going to speak here is when and how a devotee should offer a prayer seeking request from the Lord, requesting the Lord for various things. Their lordships manifest in the form of deities. They are there as Paramatma. They are there in the form of the holy name. So all of us can pray to the Lord and understand that the process of bhakti offers a very special privilege that the Lord is available to reciprocate with our desires and fulfill our desires. Many times, in the process of practice of bhakti, a devotee may feel that I do not have the support, I am alone, I cannot see the direction. And many times these thoughts come because We are practicing Krishna consciousness, but we are not sufficiently conscious of Krishna and feel that I can go through this journey on my own effort. And therefore, Vandanam or prayer is very important, and consciously praying to the Lord is also very important. Out of the various things which we can request the Lord, the first thing we should request when we come in front of the deities is we should pray for association of devotees, satsanga. So when Parikshit Maharaj, he is given the notice that Takshak is going to kill him in 7 days and 7 nights. So Parikshit Maharaj offers this prayer. Punascha bhuyat bhagavati ananta rati prasangascha tadashrayeshu. My dear Lord, if for some reason I am not able to remember you at the time of death, because a materialist is always afraid of the destruction of his body, but a spiritualist is afraid of the distraction of his mind, and therefore I pray that at the last moment, when my body is going through excruciating pain, I am able to remember you and remember to serve you and aspire to serve you in the midst of pain, because the purpose of human form of life is not to increase our pleasure or decrease our pain or enhance our prosperity and diminish our adversity, but to continue praying for service to the lotus feet of Lord in the midst of both prosperity and adversity. And therefore, sometimes that pain at the moment of death may be so intense that we may not be able to remember Krishna, and because of which if I am forced to take one more life, at that time I have these 3 desires. And Srila Prabhupada says when we come in front of the deities, these are the desires we should be praying for when we are offering our prayers to Sri Sri Radha Madan Mohan Ji in the deities of your community or in your home deities or whatever. And what are these 3 desires? First, may I develop unlimited attraction towards you, my dear Lord Krishna. Krishna is all attractive, but may my attraction towards you become unlimitedly powerful. Rupa and Sanatan, when they are offering their prayers to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they say that Moragar Mamora Hate Golae Bandhiya Kubishaya Vishtagarthe Diyache Pelaya. That, my dear Lord, although we are aware that Krishna is all attractive, but unfortunately our mind gets attracted towards sense gratification. And the choices which we make to indulge in sense gratification is like tying a rope or noose around our own neck and pull us down into the mud of sense gratification, which is hellish. So therefore we pray to you to pull us out of that tendency and develop attraction towards Krishna. Vamanyache chand dhorite chahe kore toiche ei vancha more uthaye antare. My dear Lord, you are like the moon, we are like the dwarf. The dwarf cannot touch the moon. Even if the dwarf says, I want to touch the moon, it's a ridiculous proposal. But the moonshine can come down and touch the dwarf. Therefore, your mercy is unlimited, and the moonshine of your merciful rays can touch us and transform our desires. So therefore, in the journey of the conditioned soul through millions of lifetimes, it may appear practically impossible. How can my desires actually change, transform, become positive? Can I ever give up those obsessive thoughts for sense gratification? It may appear impossible. But Rupa and Sanatan are saying that yes, on our own it is impossible. But when we are dependent on the Lord, it becomes possible. And therefore, this is the first prayer which Parikshit Maharaj is making. Please, my dear Lord, let me develop unlimited attraction towards you. And then the question arises, how will such an attraction develop? How will the Lord's mercy come down upon us? What is the moment where the transformation begins to happen? And that is the most important. He says, Rati prasangascha tad ashreyeshu. It can only begin when we come in the association of devotees. Association of devotees who have faith and conviction in the practice of pure devotional service. That pure devotional service is the ultimate goal of human form of life. That association very much depends on the conviction which the devotees carry within their heart, in their own narrative of life, in their own goal of life, in their own practice of bhakti. Ravana is the king of Lanka, the city of gold, and his brother, his name is Vibhishan. And Vibhishan is practically the only person in the whole of Lanka who has a semblance of piety. Otherwise, Lanka is filled with Rakshasas, and the whole narrative of Lanka is Vikriti. The narrative of Ayodhya, the culture of Ayodhya is called Sanskriti, which means willingness to go through sacrifice and pain oneself to give pleasure to others. That is Sanskriti. Vedic culture was all about Sanskriti. That it is my greatest pleasure to go through personal pain to give you pleasure. That's Sanskriti. That is called sacrifice. That is called the willingness to step back and to help and support others. That's what Ayodhya is all about. That's what Bharat Maharaj does. That's what Kaushalya does. That's what Sita Devi does. That's what Lakshman does. That is Sanskriti. Whereas Lanka is Vikriti, which means one is willing to go through all kinds of pleasure oneself to give pain to others. And so Ravana literally means one who gives pain to others, one who makes others cry. And therefore, Ravana was willing to do all kinds of things possible to torment and torture others. And so when Sugriva, for the first time when the Vanara Sena comes towards Lanka, Ramchandra is leading, Sugriva is leading. And from a distance when Sugriva sees Ravana for the first time, his mind becomes filled with so much of anger that instead of taking permission of Lord Ram or consulting anybody, Sugriva breaks away from the entire army and jumps towards Ravana, lands on Ravana's shoulder, slaps him and smashes him on his head heavily, and then passes urine on his head and comes back. When Lord Ram sees Sugriva back, he is shocked. He says, "Where did you disappear and what did you do? I was so worried." And Sugriva says, "My dear Lord, when I saw Ravana and how Ravana's entire life is centered around giving pain to others, I just could not control my anger. I had to go and hit him. And not only I hit him, I passed urine also." Lord Ram said, "This is not how you deal with kings. This is not good behavior." Sugriva said, "Monkeys are allowed all these things." So Ram said, "But I am so worried for you, you should not do this." So Ravana was completely focused on my pleasure. And for my pleasure, I am willing to give anybody any extent of pain. So therefore, in Lanka, there was only one person who did not agree with Ravana, and that was Vibhishan. And Vibhishan means what? one who causes terror in the heart of others. So Vibhishan never had a armed battle with Ravana. So why is he called Vibhishan? Because Vibhishan was the only person who Ravan could not shut up in the whole of Lanka. Vibhishan had his opinions, he would speak up. He had integrity to speak up. He had the guts to speak up. He had the ability to practice his own pious activities on his own. He did not, at that point of time, seek Ravana's permission. You need something?
No, he wanted to just go.
You want to go out?
Chair.
Yeah. There are 2 chairs. One more can sit. So the understanding of Vibhishana is very important, because here is a person who knew that what Ravana is doing is not right. Vibhishan practiced his own principles piously. He was seeing that what Ravana is doing is not right, but he could not stop Ravana. Ravana had the power to cut down Vibhishan and stop his pious activities, but Ravana also allowed Vibhishan to practice his piety, and therefore the greatest obstacle which stops Lord Ram from entering is this collaboration and collusion between piety and sin. So when Papa and Punya collaborate, it's a deadly combination. When Papa and Punya collaborate and sign their contract, Shuddha Bhakti cannot enter. And therefore, as long as Ravana and Vibhishan were coexisting and were kind of comfortable, and each had their own understanding of what they would do, Lord Ram could not come in. So the moment changed when Hanuman entered. So therefore, one requires the presence and the intervention of Guru or Vaishnavas. And when Hanumanji entered, and then he met Sita Devi, and then he told Sita Devi that I perform my most important task, the primary seva of giving you the message, the seva of understanding what is your location, and the mandate for which I have been sent is fulfilled. But the first class servant always tries to do beyond what is given. So therefore I want to find out what is the overall strength of the army of Lanka. And I am quite intrigued by this personality, Ravana. If I try to seek an appointment, it may take a long time. Let me do something by which I will get instant appointment. Because I will destroy this Ashok Vatika, so that instead of seeking appointment, he will seek my appointment. And that's exactly what happened. And when Hanumanji was brought in front of Ravana, Ravana wanted to kill him. It was Vibhishan who intervened. And Vibhishan spoke for Hanumanji and said to Ravana that if there is an emissary or a messenger, you cannot kill a messenger as per the code of conduct. So Lord Ram's messenger has come. You can mutilate some part of his body, that is allowed, but not kill. So Ravana, he liked that idea and he thought, okay, the monkeys are proud of their tails, so I'll burn the tail. That's what the idea, Ravana got, because within this world, all of us have a sense of identity, a sense of pride, a sense of feeling something special based on different things. So Ravana felt that monkeys feel special because of their tail. When after Sita Devi, was rescued and Ravana was killed, when the monkey soldiers were coming back with Lord Ram in Pushpak Viman, they stopped at Kishkinda. All the monkey soldiers stopped because Sita Devi said, I want all the wives of the monkeys to also join us to Ayodhya. So when Sita Devi and Ram stepped down from the Pushpak Viman in Kishkinda. Millions of these, the wives of the monkey soldiers, they came, the Vanara Patnis. They were all intrigued to see who is this lady for whom all our husbands went for so long. Who is this, or someone special or what? So they came, and then one or two of the Vanara ladies, they went right around Sita, and everyone thought they are doing parikrama. But after doing that parikrama, the ladies came and announced to the other Vanara ladies, Sita has no tail. Not beautiful. So that was their sense of beauty. The tail, beautiful. So therefore, Ravana thought, okay, for the monkey, tail is most important. So he burned the tail. And it was Vibhishana who said, this is bona fide. You can do something with the tail. So when Hanumanji's tail was on fire, he burned the whole of Lanka. Ravana did not expect that a monkey can do such damage. And when he saw the entire Lanka burn, he was frustrated. The gold was melting. Everyone was destroyed, everything was destroyed. And Ravana was in such a trauma that this empire I created with so much of effort was destroyed by a mere monkey. And that trauma was so much that when Mandodari came near him to embrace him, to offer him some relief, Ravana came near Mandodari and stepped back and said, I can smell some smoke from your hair also. And Mandodari said, Arey Baba, my hair is not on fire. But Ravana said, somehow this monkey has created too much trauma for me. And then he said, I'll go around and see what is the state of Lanka. And when he went around, he saw that the whole Lanka was destroyed, the whole Lanka was burned. Every house was burned except one house, Vibhishan's house. So Ravana got doubt. Oh, he was the one who gave advice. Don't kill Hanuman. And now, while burning Lanka, only his house has been left. Looks like they are in partnership for that. So then, Ravana comes to Vibhishan's house, enters, and he sees Vibhishana is chanting the name of Ram. Rama, 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 and all in his house Ram Nam is written. Ravana becomes upset and he looks at Vibhishana and chastises him. How dare you chant my enemy's name? And Vibhishana says, this is not your enemy's name, this is your name. Ram means Ravana, Ma means Mandodari. So the Acharyas describe that till that time, before Hanumanji's association, Vibhishana was pious. He was doing what he was doing. But he did not develop the Shraddha in Nam. That Shraddha in the Nam only came after Hanumanji's intervention. So therefore, all of us, before coming to Krishna consciousness or before coming to the satsanga, we've all been to various temples, followed some kind of rituals, followed some pious principles. But when we come to that sangha, that Vaishnava sangha, then what exactly happens is, it is the Guru, it is the Vaishnavas who help us isolate Papa and Punya and give the guts to call Papa a Papa and stay away. And only after Hanumanji's association, Vibhishan got the strength to stand up to Ravana and reject the opulence of Lanka. And so it is said, Antariksha Katha Shriman Jata Krodho Vibhishana. When Vibhishan in great anger rejects Lanka and leaves Lanka, he jumps up in the sky, Antariksha Katha. He jumps with 4 associates. And these 4 associates of Vibhishan represent the 4 limbs of bhakti, of surrender, of sharanagati. Akinchanatvam, which means I have nothing. Ananyagaditva means I have no other shelter. Saralta means simplicity. That means the Lord Ram, before accepting anybody's surrender, doesn't do any background check. We don't easily allow anybody to have a relationship without doing a background check. The Lord Ram allows anybody to connect with him. And Shakti, which means power. That means he's not afraid of anybody coming and taking shelter. So, in Valmiki Ramayana, the word described is Antariksha Gataha Shriman. When Vibhishan jumps in the sky, rejecting the opulence of Lanka, rejecting the gold and all of its properties and the prosperity and the potential future security and the influence and the power which comes along being the younger brother of the king of Lanka, he gives up all of that. His wife and children are still in Lanka, and Vibhishan rejects Ravana with the complete insecurity of not knowing and uncertainty of what will happen to his family members. So what Vibhishan does is demonstrate the price of surrender. And so the verse says, he gave up all of his opulence, he gave up all of his prosperity of Lanka, but Valmiki calls him Antariksha Gataha Shriman. Shriman means one who is opulent. So one who has given up opulence of Lanka, when he gives up Lanka and jumps towards Lord Ram, why is he called Shriman? Because the real opulence is the opulence of reclaiming the kingdom of God, the opulence of pure devotional service, the opulence of the opportunity to serve in all situations. And therefore Lord Ram's younger brother Lakshman is also called Lakshman, which comes from the word Lakshmi, which means goddess of fortune. Sarva priyakaras tasya ramasya sharirada Lakshmano Lakshmi sampanno bahirprana ivapara. Lakshman means one who is Lakshmi Sampanna, one who is endowed with the opulence of the Lakshmi of Seva, the Seva Rupi Lakshmi. And therefore Vibhishan, he rejects Ravana and comes and takes shelter of Lord Ram. And in that process of rejection of Ravana, rejection of Papa, and going beyond his lukewarm, mediocre understanding of punya, of piety, he had to now take an extreme step. He had to take a strong step. And to take that step, to make that decision, to make that choice, one needs a lot of spiritual strength. That spiritual strength only comes in Vaishnava Sangha. Otherwise, visiting temples, ringing the bell in the temple, offering some prayers on one's own, and coming back with the idea that yes, I have practiced a pious life by visiting the temple. That is what Vibhishan's life was before Hanumanji came, where Vibhishan saw Ravana's deviation. Vibhishan did not intervene, he tolerated that deviation. Ravana saw Vibhishan performing his piety. Ravana permitted that piety. So when Papa and Punya collaborate, the urge for Sharanagati is not there. And the urge for Sharanagati is only precipitated when the Guru Tattva comes in and the Vaishnava principle comes in. And that's how the Vaishnava's association is powerful, transformative, because that's where Sharanagati, where we set aside our own desire and decide to follow the desires of the Lord and the devotees. Willingness to go through pain ourselves, to give pleasure to others. It is the highest revolutionary transformation which has happened in the evolution of the soul's journey. The willingness to abnegate one's own desires, to follow the desires of others, is the most difficult of all accomplishments in the entire creation. And that's what sannyas means. Sannyas means to give up one's own plans, one's own desires, one's own opinions, one's own proclivities, to try to fulfill the desires of the Vaishnavas. And therefore, Srila Kaviraj Goswami says that I am sitting here and writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita because of the instructions of the Vaishnavas. 95. People are, nowadays they come up and tell me, I am 40, I want to retire. Kaviraj Goswami is 95. And he's saying, Sheshalila Sutragan Karikichu Vivaran Iha Vistarite Chitta Hoye Thake Jadi Ayushesh Vistariva Lilashesh Jadi Mahaprabhu Kripa Hoye. He says that I am writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, but at the beginning of Madhya Lila I want to describe all the pastimes of Anta Lila in short. It may not be symmetrical because Adi Lila ended. Now Madhya Lila begins. So if I give summary of Madhya Lila, it is fine. And then Madhya Lila ends, then Anta Lila begins. I give the summary of Anta Lila. When Anta Lila begins, then it's symmetrical. But now Madhya Lila begins and I am giving the summary of Anta Lila at the beginning of Madhya Lila. So it may appear to be a little skewed. It doesn't appear symmetrical. From a literary perspective, from an ornamental perspective, it doesn't appear to make sense. So he says, Sheshalila Sutragan Karikichu Vivaran Iha Vistarite Chitta Hoy. Why I am doing that? It's because all of you have an asset which I don't have. All of you take something for granted which I cannot, which is time, age. Because I am at such an age where if I go to sleep at night, I cannot guarantee whether I will wake up next morning. The verse where I ended tonight, I do not know whether I can complete that verse tomorrow morning. In that state of uncertainty, I want to make sure that all of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes in Jagannath Puri, at least the indication of those pastimes, the world gets to see. The Vaishnava society is able to hear, understand, experience. And therefore, even if I am criticized for not writing the Chaitanya Charitamrita in a perfectly literary, perfect composition, but the important thing is not that it is literally perfect, but the important thing is Lord Chaitanya's pastimes must reach the world. And therefore, he says, Iha Vistarite Chitta Hoy. Yes, I have a desire to expand and glorify in great detail, but I am also bound by the instruction of the Vaishnavas, which is explain all of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. So the Vaishnava community in Vrindavan has ordered me, explain Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, all of those pastimes. But when I look at the assets which I have at my disposal to fulfill that service, there is a service which has been ordered to me, but the assets I have to fulfill that service is very meager, very limited. I feel crippled, and therefore I have to make a choice. Is service dependent on assets? No. Service is dependent on our attitude. And I do not have the asset of time. I do not have the asset of physical energy. I do not have asset of knowing exactly how long I am going to live. So many times we feel I do not have assets. How can I perform this service? But devotional service does not depend on assets. It depends on our attitude. And if you have the right attitude, then the action can be performed with whatever limited assets we have. So he says, Thakejati ayushesh vistariva lilashesh jadi mahaprabhu kripa hoye. That if after I complete this summary of Anta Lila, then I will write detail of Madhya Lila. After I complete detail of Madhya Lila, Thake jadi ayushesh. And if I still am given more time by His grace, Vistariva Lila Shesh, then I will describe in detail Antarila also. Jadi Mahaprabhu Kripa. So I should not think that the money I have, the youthfulness, the energy I have, the property I have, the influence I have is mine. These are all gifts given by the Lord, and all we can do is utilize them in the service of the Vaishnavas, by the order of the Vaishnavas, by the grace and the permission of the Vaishnavas. And therefore, we always remain dependent on the Vaishnavas' mercy. And then we get the strength to stand up for our convictions and say no to the influence of Papa, to make a solid wall between Papa and Punya, and to make sure that yes, I practice the process the way it should be practiced. So therefore, that's where, the Vaishnava association, the Vaishnava Agya, the order and the instruction of the Vaishnavas becomes the most powerful asset for us to cherish in our lives. One of Srila Prabhupada's disciples, he heard from some sources that Prabhupada wants to make him a president. He didn't want that. And he was kind of thinking, I should avoid this. It's too much of botheration. So he kind of wrote various points in a sheet of paper on why he is not qualified to be president. Why I am not qualified to be president? Because he thought when I am in front of Prabhupada, I may miss the points. Sometimes powerful devotee in their presence, you plan to speak many things, but when you are in front, everything blanks out. So he thought, I should prepare in advance. So he prepared a list of why he is not qualified to serve and how he cannot serve. And he came to Prabhupada, offered obeisances, and folded his hand and said, how can I serve you? Which itself was a contradiction. Because he had planned how not to serve. So Prabhupada looked at him and said, I have a very important service for you. He said, yes, Srila Prabhupada. And he was ready with his sheet. And Prabhupada said, I want you to take sannyas. He got bewildered. He thought he didn't hear properly. He says, Prabhupada, did you say sannyas? Prabhupada, yes, you take sannyas. He says, but Prabhupada, I just got married. I got a small kid. Prabhupada said, don't worry, Krishna will take care. He says, but Prabhupada, I'm not qualified. Prabhupada said, you take sannyas and the mantras of sannyas will qualify you. He says, but Prabhupada, my senses are not under control. I cannot handle it. Prabhupada said, no. We will give you the blessings, the power, the potency will come. You just take sannyas. His mind started reeling. He got totally bewildered. And he looked at Prabhupada, folded his hand and said, I can do anything, Srila Prabhupada. I cannot take sannyas. Prabhupada said, become president. So many times, we have our own plans. And our biggest anxiety is our plan should not be edited. So therefore, Krishna's plans minus my plans is equal to fear. That is the simple understanding of fear. And therefore, it's not always easy to confront this. And so, we find that the Vaishnava Sangha and the grace and the blessings of the Vaishnavas gives us the power and the potency to stand up for our conviction and confront the proposals of Papa, of sin personified. And therefore, Vibhishan is called Vibhishan, that when he stands up and is ready to speak, just before he starts speaking, the embodiment of Papa, Ravana, his heart is in tremor. What is he going to say? What is his proposal now? Right? And therefore, a routine practice of some kind of piety is very different from the Sharanagati or surrender and the practice of the limbs of bhakti as described, demonstrated and shared in the association of devotees. So that's what makes this association unique. You know, we have experienced that when so many youth, they visit different temples, people have, family also doesn't have much problem. The guy that very important. Beta sudhar raha hai. Hum gir ja rahe hain. Go to temple, very good. Then when they start coming to ISKCON temple, they become very nervous. We are going to ISKCON temple. What is their fear? Yad gatva na nivartati. So they go there, they will come back, they will not remain the same. They will change. Even if they don't join as brahmachari or whatever, but still the habits, everything changes. Know this, know this, know this, know this. Right? How do you live? So, therefore, that's a very, very crucial principle that in the association of devotees, things do get transformed. And therefore, Lord Nityananda says to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Tomaro ihastabadha nama ganane jalapatra bahirvasa bahidevamane. My dear Lord, you are going to South India. You're not having any associates with you. When you chant, you are chanting with both your hands. With one hand you are chanting the holy names, with the other hand you are counting the names. So both your hands are engaged. Who will carry Jalapatra, the pot, water pot, and who will carry Bahirvasa, your cloth? You need somebody because your hands are engaged. So this is the second request which we make when we offer our prayers to Krishna. The first prayer is we pray for taking shelter in association. We pray that may our faith or Shraddha in the words of the Vaishnavas be so strong that I am willing to change my plans when requested by the Vaishnava Sangha. And then the second prayer we make is that may I develop taste in this process of repeatedly having my plans smashed. That requires taste. Because when we say, I am Das, what does it mean? It's not a Bengali surname. When we are giving interviews in the press, that's what many journalists think. And all through the article, Mr. Das said, Mr. Das. So when I meet journalists and I say, Baba, this Das, my legal name is so and so, I am in Hare Krishna known as so and so Das. Everybody has a surname Das in Hare Krishna. Which basically means I am a servant, which basically means that servant is asking Master, what is your plan? It is not that servant is telling the Master, can you have this plan? It will help me. No. So taste means what? Taste means it's not a yogic taste where, we start having some ecstasy in the chanting and we start enjoying the holy name and the holy name does something to us. When we say taste in the holy name, it basically means one has perfect alignment between one's own desires and the desires of the Master. Taste basically means one has total transparency and authenticity in willing to live every moment to fulfill the desire of another. So therefore, bhakti is one of the most difficult processes. Why bhakti is highest? Because karma is based on accomplishment. Jnana is based on mental speculation. Yoga is based on perfection. All three give some gunjaish or scope for ego to survive. Ego has some hope in karma, jnana and yoga. But in bhakti, ego is the one getting arrested. So there is no scope because one is offering one's identity as a servant. So therefore, that is the process of bhakti. And so when we say taste, it basically means what? It basically means that I have the conviction that I want to simply serve you and your desires. That prayer is the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
It basically means, O divine energy of the Lord Hare, all attractive Krishna, reservoir of pleasure Ram, please engage me in your service. I think Mayapur Bihari Prabhu has invited some of your friends and colleagues who are new. So many of you who are new may have heard this Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And you may wonder, what does it mean? It basically means if someone gives me a glass of water, as soon as I receive the water, I say what? Thank you. I express gratitude. Right? So therefore, our way of saying thank you is this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. And the Lord is giving us air, the Lord is giving us food, the Lord is giving us energy. We may live without even water for a day, but we cannot live without air for a moment. And no technology in the world is able to produce that. Therefore, someone is giving us. So we are expressing gratitude, and we express gratitude in an authentic manner by offering to serve. So therefore, the whole idea of taste is that I am totally convinced that the goal of my life is to serve your desire every moment. That's what the idea of taste is. So therefore, when Haridas Thakur is, tempted, he does not succumb to that temptation. Why? Nirvikara Haridasa Gambhira Ashay Bolite Lagila Thari Hoya Sarai. Nirvikara, there was no vikar, there was no transformation, there was no agitation in Thakur Haridas's mind to try to enjoy. Why? Gambhira Ashay. His intention was deep, pure, authentic. Gambhira Ashay means his intention was, I am a servant. I am a servant meant to exist, to give pleasure to my master, to the Lord. And here is someone who has come to offer me pleasure. No, I cannot have that pleasure because that pleasure is, only he is allowed that pleasure. I am only allowed to serve. So that's called depth in intention. So therefore, sadhana basically means deepening our intention of being a servant. To the extent our intention to be a servant and to be the cause of our instrument of pleasure of the master deepens, that is called enhancement of taste. Enhancement of taste is not a yogic trance where one's mind is totally focused on the sound vibration, but the focus should be on the intention that I want to be an instrument of your pleasure, and for that I am willing to be going through pain in my own life, because my greatest asset is the smile on your face and the throb of pleasure in your heart. That is my ultimate asset. So there is a complete change in the paradigm of how the soul has led priorities for millions of lifetimes. And that transformation only happens by Guru Kripa. Otherwise, the normal paradigm is, I need pleasure. Why should someone think, you need pleasure and I'll become the instrument for giving you pleasure? It's a pretty revolutionary thought process. And that is only the privilege of the few who are allowed into the kingdom of bhakti. And therefore, The doors to that opens with the Mahamantra, which Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give. When we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, what we are actually saying is, please engage me in your service. So we chant all the time, and we also think, okay, please engage. But when the service actually comes, we start thinking, please engage him in your service. Please engage her. You know. When Radhanath Swami was pushing us, let's have the Govardhan village project. It's in the middle of Maharashtra, remote village. And most people in India, once they come to city, they don't want to go to a village. I never grew up in a village. I was never exposed to a village. So we were all thinking, why Maharaj is again and again pushing us into it? Why even this thought is coming in his mind? So many times we would discuss what should we do to take this thought out of his mind. And then Prabhupada had desired Vrindavan, 7 temples, 12 forests. It was a new, it was a seva meant for new. They are supposed to do it. What is our? We are busy in college preaching, and Mumbai is 20 million people. So a lot of seva here, and suddenly he's sending 100 kilometers away in the middle of nowhere. So, we were, and he would say, okay, what's the plans? What's the plan? So he has a very gentle style, but persuasive. Like bulldozer moves ahead. But gradually, whoever is in front experiences. So just smiling, but not stepping back. So then, one day I told him that the finance committee doesn't want it. The congregation is not at all interested. Brahmacharis definitely don't want it. Only person who's thinking about it all the time is you. If you forget that idea, life will become peaceful for everyone. Because when you know that someone you like wants something and you are not interested to do, that also creates guilt. Why is he? You can't sleep peacefully at night. So you are thinking, if he forgets the idea, and said, okay, let's postpone it for some other generation. Let's sleep peacefully. So he said, Srila Prabhupada wanted these farm communities to develop, and he wanted, 7 temples. He wanted 5 things in New Vrindavan. He wanted cow protection, and he wanted agriculture, because Krishna represents cow protection, Balaramji represents agriculture, and if people come to ISKCON temples and see that, we look at ISKCON temples and you are following Krishna and Balaram, but I see the only 2 people who do cow protection and agriculture are Krishna and Balaram. You don't see any of your devotees. They are in IT jobs. So, have you outsourced agriculture and cow protection to only Krishna and Balaram, or is there? So then Prabhupada said, we should have at least a few places where we can showcase cow protection and agriculture. So that's why Prabhupada had these farm communities, and he felt it's important. So that was the context, and because we had not directly heard those things, Maharaj had seen in Vrindavan and heard. So he was emphasizing that. So what we realized is it's very difficult to enter into somebody else's dream and see what that whole thing was. So Prabhupada wanted cow protection, agriculture, education, 7 temples and 12 forests, and a guest house facility, retreat center. I never heard that word before, retreat center. I thought it's like a hospital or something. Retreat. You treat people. So I said, let us give it to Bhaktivedanta Hospital. I said, no, it is not hospital, it's a retreat center. So when he was again and again saying this, when are we making plans? When are we making plans? And we had no answer. But Indian style is not to say no on the face. So what's going on here? We had certain meetings. We are going to have more meetings. And then we are thinking, we will go to the West and forget for a few months. We'll manage. we'll manage the person who's giving instructions. So that gradually he forgets. And then, he starts giving the way we want. So that's how the mind functions. So then he said, again and again I'm saying, but there is no progress. So now I want this project to be ready by 2010 for my 60th birthday. I said, this is not fair. Now you are putting emotional pressure on us. This is our devotional pressure. So I put up a sheet of paper in the notice board of the Chopati ashram. All those brahmacharis who want to dedicate their lives to offer a 60th birthday gift to their spiritual master, Radha Swami. Please sign up here. Because, the ego is such that I don't want to surrender, but I'll find people who can surrender. So let's gather a group of people and outsource the surrender to them. And then so when I wrote that sheet of paper, it remained for 1 week blank. Not a single name came up. Then I told Maharaj, I think the only way is we need to take a group of people to the eco village. A group of brahmacharis who have no choice, which is the new bhaktas. So that's how we gathered the new bhaktas together and said, Radhanath Swami is going to address you. They were in ecstasy. And then Maharaj gave a 1 hour lecture. 45 minutes was on farm communities of ISKCON. And they were looking at each other. We are here in Chopati about to join and start youth preaching and other things. And what were farm communities? Then Maharaj ended the lecture by saying, you may be wondering why I'm speaking about farm communities. And they were like, So when you are in front of Maharaj, you're always happy. Very happy. And I said, because we want you to go to the Govardhan village and develop it. You will be the people who will do it. And he said, Hari Bol. And that time they didn't realize. And I looked at them and I said, once the intoxication comes down, then they'll realize what is the reality. So we took a group picture. I said, you see that I gave a copy to everybody. Put this group photo in your locker, because when you are going through difficulties, you have a look and you understand that you made this choice. Otherwise you start blaming me. So the day they landed at Govardhan village was May 1st, 2010. They still call it Labor Day. So gradually things started, and I also went to the Govardhan village thinking, I don't know, in my mind में 1 or 2 years we'll do something, give him some whatever he wants to experience here, and then I'll go back to Chopati. That was the idea. We'll do something here, jump back. Right? And I asked him also, who will come here? It's 2 hours away from home. Who will come? You just build it. I'll make sure people come. Don't think about that too much. So therefore it takes time before you realize what exactly is the vision and what exactly Srila Prabhupada had in mind. It's not possible to understand everything at once. So now, over a period of years, actually it was only in pandemic, during COVID, when there was a complete lockdown, and people across the world were sending me messages. We are locked up in our 2-bedroom house, 3-bedroom house, 1-bedroom house, and I had this 100 acres to roam around. That was the moment. In 2020, I got convinced that whatever we did at Govardhan village was appropriate, was right. And I made the right choice by surrendering and trying to fulfill. I was not yet convinced till 2020. Because the young brahmachari would ask me, what are we doing here? I was tempted to tell them, I am also having the same question. The only difference between you and me is I have spent so many years with Maharaj before, together. And so what saved me was the false ego. Because I thought, 18 years I have served in so many other services together in Mumbai, and now he's telling me do something here, and if I say, no, so far it was good, but there, it's too difficult, I won't come, so people will think, hey, when he needed you most, you deserted him. Ego ko acha nahi lage. So I said, okay, let me just also be there 1 or 2 years. Make sure that my reputation is in proper order. Then I assisted him there also, but then quickly come back and resume my regular stuff. But once we got into it, it was like one thing after another started unpacking to such an extent that practically half of Chowpatty has now shifted there. And we didn't even realize what we are getting into. And now, post-COVID, from 2023 onwards, 2022 we got in the Govardhan village, in the whole year we got 200,000 people. Now in 2024, January we got 100,000, February we got 100,000, March we got 100,000, April we get 100,000. So we are going to jump from 200,000 in 2022 to 1.2 million in 2024. Which basically is not good news, because if 1.2 million are coming, there is threat to that remaining an eco-village. So now the question is how to retain its identity as an eco-village with all these tourists coming in. So there is a new level of problem which is created, which will keep us busy for the next 10 years. So that's how, Thakur Bhaktivinoda says, Tomar sevaya dukha hoye jata, seito parama sukha, seva sukha dukha parama sampada, nashaye avidya dukha. In your service, my dear Lord, in the service to the devotees, we may go through painful, difficult situations, but that experience of pain becomes the cause of my greatest pleasure. Seva sukha dukha parama sampada nashaya avidya dukkha. And therefore, that is basically the understanding of taste. That when we say we want to develop taste in the chanting of the holy names, the taste in chanting of the holy names is directly proportional to our willingness to accept various difficulties in the practice of bhakti, in the service to the devotees, in pleasing the devotees, making compromises where our mind and ego does not want, but we still submit to the higher will. That yes, what is important is to see things from the higher perspective of what is pleasing to Krishna, what is pleasing to the Vaishnavas. And that actually becomes the true north for our life. And that basically is what is known as the taste. And so Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells Sanatana Goswami, Bhajaner madhye sreshta navida bhakti, Krishna prema Krishna vike dhari mahashakti. That the navida bhakti is the most important. And out of the 9 processes, Tara madhye sarva sreshta nama sankirtan nir aparadhi namalore pai prema dhari. That out of that 9 processes, the highest is chanting of the holy names without offenses, which basically means we are conscious that my prayer is to only please Krishna without any personal agenda and desire. That's the idea of offenseless chanting, which basically means that we have selfless intention and prayer. To the extent our intention and prayer is selfless, to that extent we have offenseless chanting. And therefore, Lord Chaitanya tells Sanatana Goswami, you are feeling hopeless because you are in a helpless situation of having this, skin disease and you are thinking of ending your life. But you have no clue that I have so many plans for you. Yes, in your current situation, you may be thinking, what is the purpose of my life? Do I have anything significant to contribute? How am I using my energy and my life and my skills in Krishna's service and for the pleasure of the Vaishnavas? I am feeling confused. I am feeling conflicted. I do not even know whether I have the right identity. So Lord Chaitanya says, Baba, it is my seva. I will reveal gradually when that seva will manifest. Don't become hopeless so soon. And therefore he says, Krishna prema Krishna bhakti seva pravartan lukta tirtha uddhara arvayagya shikshan. That I want you to establish temples which will become causes for transformation and creation of bhakti within the heart. And then lukta tirtha uddhara. I want you to excavate lost holy places in Vrindavan. So, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur lost the association of Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj in 1914-15 period. Few months later, he lost the association of Thakur Bhaktivinoda, his father, and the Shiksha Guru. Both of his prominent gurus in life departed in quick succession. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was feeling hopeless. He was feeling shelterless. He was feeling directionless. He was feeling a big vacuum. Shonyayate mahagostham girindro ajagarayate vyagratundayate kundam jivaturhata same. When Rupa and Sanatana Goswami depart, Raghunath Das Goswami is plunged into a deep, deep valley of despair. And in that great distress, he says, I am here in Vrindavan in the midst of the 12 forests, Shunyayate Mahagostam, but the 12 forests of Braj, which are the source of greatest ecstasy, appear to be Shunya. Girindro Ajagarayate, and Giriraj Govardhan appears to be like a huge python. Vyagratundayate Kundam, and Radha Kund, the topmost place of worship in the whole creation, appears to be like a tiger with a gaping open mouth. Jivaturahitasya, without the association of my guides, without the association of those who would give me shelter, everything appears to be empty and void. And therefore, Saraswati Thakur, Srila Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada was feeling like that. And as he was sitting near the Jalangi and the Brajapattana, where he performed his japa for so many years, at least for a decade, suddenly a sheet of paper just flew. And that sheet of paper came out of nowhere, as they say, yadrichaya, out of the blue by the Lord's desire. And that sheet of paper landed in front of him. He picked up the paper. And that sheet of paper had this verse, which I just quoted. Krishna prema Krishna bhakti seva pravartan lukta tirtha uddhar ar vairagya shikshan. The mission given by Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami. And when Srila Saraswati Thakur just read that one verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita, all of his feeling of listlessness, of feeling without shelter, feeling that I don't have a direction, everything disappeared and dissipated in that moment. That's the power of transcendental sound. Even one verse, one shloka can evaporate your shoka. And that's the power of the verses of the Shastras. And he read that and immediately became inspired again and remembered the mission given to him by his father, Thakur Bhaktivinoda, and he felt totally committed to take the Krishna consciousness movement and Lord Chaitanya's mission to every town and village, and came to Kolkata to establish the Gaudiya Math and moved into Ultadanga Junction Road, which finally has been acquired by ISKCON and renovated beautifully. And in the recent years, that Ultadanga Junction project and property. It's a heritage museum property which has been restored. I would say it's one of the most beautiful, attractive, heart-touching projects I have seen in the last 20 years. And I recommend that when you visit India and on the way to Mayapur, please do stop over at Kolkata and have darshan at Ultadanga Junction Road, which is known as Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur Asana. Srila Bhakti Vinod Asana. And therefore, in that association of devotees, we develop the strength to acquire the taste. The taste for what? The taste for forgetting and overlooking and changing our own plans and desires and prioritizing the plans and the desires of the devotees who represents Krishna's desires, who represent the Parampara's desire. And therefore these are the two prayers we should make when we come in front of the deities, that may I request the association of genuine devotees of the Lord, and may I request the taste in the holy name, which basically translates as may I develop the strength to fulfill the order and the desire of the Vaishnavas, however difficult it may be. And so these two prayers, requesting for association Sangha and requesting for the taste in the practice of bhakti, is something which we should offer when we come in front of their lordships, when we are in the temple, when we are in front of our deities at home. And as Kaviraj Goswami says, Kuladhi devata more madana mohan, jar sevakara gunat rupa sanatan. My Kula devata is Madan Mohan. Jar sevakara gunat rupa sanatan. They have been served diligently by Rupa and Sanatan. They become my worshipable lordships. And therefore, he completely surrenders himself to the will of Madan Mohan. And here in ISKCON of Silicon Valley, your worshipable deities are Shishi, Radha, Madan Mohan. And my worshipable deities at Govardhani is also Radha, Madan Mohan. And Srila Sanatana Goswami's worshipable deities as the Sambandha Acharya, Shishi, Radha, Madan Mohan. And the first deity, Srila Prabhupada, actually, Prabhupada installed Jagannath Baldev Subhadra in San Francisco. But at that same time, the devotees in New York had gone to a store, Indian import store. And there was this person from Rawalpindi, Pakistan, and he had a beautiful black, full-fledged marble deities. And the devotees really wanted that deities, but they were afraid to ask. But in a few months' time, that owner, he said that I am feeling inspired to give this deity to you. And so the black deities were brought and given to the devotees in New York. And when Srila Prabhupada came back, he named those deities Madan Mohan. So the first Krishna deities in ISKCON were actually Madan Mohan. But somehow they were not installed. And if you see some pictures of Srila Prabhupada in New York, there is this one black deity in the background. And Prabhupada is sitting and having conversation. That is those deities. Then Radharani came in 1970-71, and those deities were then taken by Srila Prabhupada, and they are now installed in Washington DC, in the Potomac Temple, Radha Madan Mohan. Their worship started much later, but they came into ISKCON quite early. But they also had to wait for the right moment where the full-fledged worship begins. And I think recently a beautiful new temple has been offered for the seva of Shishi Radha Madan Mohan. So my respectful obeisances to all the sevaks of Radha Madan Mohan of Silicon Valley, and my gratitude to Vaisheshika Prabhu for giving such an inspirational, sterling leadership to all of you, inspiring all of you to practice pure devotional service without compromise, giving you the strength of conviction to stand up against Papa and break through the club of the collaboration between Papa and Punya, so that ultimately we can practice pure devotional service, Anya Vilashita Shunyam, the way Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted. So my gratitude to all of you who have assembled this evening. Thank you very much.
A few questions. Thank you very much. Anyone wants question, we can pass along the mic.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for a wonderful class. Quick question on the sacrifice part. You mentioned about devotees go all the way to sacrifice, and that concept I'm still struggling with to understand. So, as a beginner who is practicing right now, I have limited, let's say, energy to do things and exhaust. I mean, I want to make sure like I don't exhaust myself when I'm trying to, let's say, follow somebody's higher instruction. How do I keep a balance, or like how do I make sure I don't exhaust myself in the process?
You should follow your father. So, Partha, you got initially?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Purushottam.
Okay, Krishna Katha. So, his father has set up a fantastic temple in, what's the name of your town? Gandhidham, where there was practically no preaching. But he got, I think you only introduced him to Krishna consciousness. He introduced him and he was on fire. And he created such a beautiful temple. Practically whole of ISKCON in India went for the inauguration of that temple. He was really wanting me to come, I could not go. That's on my bucket list of visiting. But his, enthusiasm, your father's enthusiasm. To really establish a temple which would attract thousands of people was so powerful. He made those presentations I was there in the WIDC meeting, we had to go through permissions and all that. So he made those presentations, and practically we could see that if someone has that conviction, age is no barrier, and whatever background one may be coming from, there were no brahmacharis there, nothing, but it was a group of members in the community came together, and out of the blue they have created a beautiful temple, such a fantastic community, and it's growing like anything. So, you have examples at home only. So how to go out of your comfort zone. So, what can I say? But all I can say is that the way we get out of our current paradigm is by associating with those who have that conviction. Right? Because Kali Yuga is a yuga where each individual is very weak spiritually. We should understand the Kali Yuga problem. The Kali Yuga problem is individually we are weak. We cannot reverse that. You can't go back and reverse the clock to Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga, or Dwapara Yuga. It's Kali Yuga. So individually, when a person is alone, he will be prone to hypocrisy. When a person is with others, he will be prone to conflict. So that is Kali Yuga. Quarrel and hypocrisy. So when we are alone, we are damned. When we are with others, we are damned. So both ways we are in challenging situation. Therefore, we need constant vigilance on how we can actually practice this process, which is not an easy process, it's a very difficult process. And as the influence of internet and social media and smartphone and everything evolves more and more, starting from the holy dham of the area, the world is getting, more and more distracted. It's going to become more and more difficult. And a day will come and people will say 16 rounds. Are you sure? Can anybody chant 16 rounds? Even now when people look at Prabhupada's books, they get overwhelmed. these many books. We are supposed to read this. Huh? So I was pretty late entrant in social media. I was busy in the eco village. So in 2022, someone said you should get into Instagram. I said, "Hey, what is Instagram?" I had some account going, I didn't know what it was. They said, "No, you must, that's where the youth is." I said, "Okay, theek hai, karenge." So then, what is the duration of lecture? Is it 30 seconds? 60 seconds. I take half an hour to warm up. I need 30 minutes to warm up. 30 seconds, 40 seconds. Arey, this is the trend and everything. So it was very difficult for me. The first few months, whatever I shot was like great anger inside. कथाकारों का धंधा बन गया। Then my team was assuring me, this is not for devotees, this is for outsiders, those who are not in Krishna consciousness, they only will see all this. And then every time devotees made me, reels. You're not supposed to be seeing that. You're getting a 3-hour, 2-hour lecture. Every day, if I see your one reel, Bhagavatam class. These are very, very dangerous trends. So I think, Srila Prabhupada's books and the Shastra is very thick, very, very difficult. One has to remain absorbed, and that's why I really admire Vaisheshika Prabhu, because not only he is distributing the books and promoting global book distribution, but also through his example, teaching how important it is to invest our energy in studying those books, going deeply. Every Kartik he spends like a month just reading through the books, retreat of devotees coming together and reading. And believe me, it's not easy. 93 to 2001, I spent almost 7 to 8 hours every day reading Bhagavatam. Because Chopati didn't have much money. So when you don't have money, you don't have any projects. So you can sit and read. Problem is when money comes. So till that time, so I got that experience of several hours of studying. But once the Rajogun hits, the mode of passion hits, and then this and that and this and that, and then even if you try to sit and do something, people will say, this you can do anytime. This is important, urgent. So this 9th of April to 17th of April, on the Navaratri, Chaitra Navaratri, till leading up to Ram Navami, I decided I will just do Ram Katha. 18 lectures of 2 to 3 hours each. So almost 40-45 hours of Ram Katha I spoke. So before that I decided I will just switch off mobile and be off from internet, from the emails. But so many people begged me, please, we will be finished. You cannot go so much offline. Okay, you do your lecture fine, but you have to be available. So the very thought that to cut off and just be doing this in today's day and age is also a very big commitment, very big sacrifice, very big yajna. And he does that every year in Kartik for so many years. So it's a fantastic example. And I think as practicing devotees, we need to create study groups, because again, individually we may become weak and we may not be able to do that. So we need the association, however many faults we may see in that association, but ultimately it is that association which can uplift us. Bhumau skalita padana bhumireva alambanam tvai jata pradhanam tvameva sharanam. If I am walking and I slip and fall, I fall because of the earth. There is an oil spill or water spill because of which I slip. So the earth has caused me to fall. But if I have to get up again, I have to take shelter of the same earth, Bhumi only. So therefore, It is the Sangha, Vaishnava Sangha, which attracts me to Krishna consciousness. But it is the Vaishnava Sangha which torments me and makes me go away from the Vaishnava Sangha. The Vaishnava Sangha is a non-negotiable force. It is there. We have to deal with it. And we should learn the right way to deal with it. We cannot avoid it, we cannot neglect it, we cannot offend it. And we cannot think that I'll be alone. No, not possible. So therefore, however difficult it may be, Vaishnava gunagrahi na dekhaye dosh, kaya mani vakya kare Vaishnava santosh. There may be millions of faults, but the way to survive in Vaishnava Sangha is we should be obsessively looking for the good qualities in the Vaishnavas and try to serve them with body, mind and words. And therefore the only way we can survive is when we have the blood group of a Vaishnava. Different people have blood group A, B, B positive, O, all these groups. So when Durvasa Muni looks at Ambarish, he says, you have the blood group of the Vaishnava. I could identify you based on your blood group. Aho anantadasana mahatvam drishtamadhyane kratagasopiyan rajan mangalani samihase. That I try to harm you, but you try to help me. And it is only possible for Vaishnava. And therefore, I appear to be renunciant, you appear to be an opulent king, but you have the blood group of the Vaishnava. What is that? Forgiveness. So forgiveness is the core, unique DNA by which a Vaishnava is identified. As I say, DNA is unique. Everyone has a unique identity. So what separates a Vaishnava from all other spiritualists of various denominations is Kshama, forgiveness. You cannot have relationships in Kali Yuga, and you cannot sustain relationships and community in Kali Yuga unless we develop the ability to forgive endlessly, unconditionally. That is the only way. There is no other way. Right? And for that, it doesn't make a difference whether you are brahmachari, grahastha, sannyasi, this, that. We are all dealing with similar situations only. So these are some thoughts for your original question. I don't remember what it was. But all I can say is I am impressed by your father.
Any other questions?
I mean, he must also be great. I don't know his glories right now. Any other question? We will do some kirtan.
Sure, Prabhu. Thank you.
Or you want someone to ask some questions?
No, if any, I want to hear more.
Sometimes the organizers plant the question. Match fixing.
Probably actually in the 10th canto, first chapter.
But we had the chair, but you don't know the chair.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. So thank you so much for the wonderful class and inspirations. In the 10th canto, first chapter, and the Krishna Lila is unfolding. So in the commentary, the Prabhupada gives extra notes there, right? I think is.
Yes, that's right.
So
Vaishnava Doshini. He quotes from the Vaishnava Doshini and all of that also.
So that's very wonderful section.
Yes.
Lot of extra information
Sure.
and color. So there, Prabhupada ji mentions that he starts talking about Durga Devi.
Right.
And Durga Devi, he of course he talks about Yogamaya and Mahamaya.
Yes.
But then he says Durga is actually Yogamaya.
Correct.
So then the Lord of course gives benedictions to Durga Devi. You will be known as Durga, Vaishnavi,
Yes.
And then one portion,
Katyayani.
Ityadi, Chandika. And then in the commentary, in that one of the verses, it's also mentioned she is also known as Mahalakshmi. So very bewildering section. little bit for me. I was trying to digest. So, of course, we understand Durga Devi is Mahamaya in a way. But then, italicized Prabhupada has written, Durga Devi is actually Yogamaya. And she is Hladini Shakti. So how is that possible? I was trying to understand. Because Hladini Shakti is Radharani.
See, you should understand from Krishna comes Balaram, and from them comes Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and the second Chakravyuha. Like that, all the other avatars manifest. Like that, from Krishna expands as the Bhagini Shakti is Srimati Radharani. And therefore, from Radharani comes then all the other expansions. So, those expansions in the material world come in the category of Durga and others. And in the spiritual, they come in the form of all the queens, the gopis, mahishis, and all of them. They are all the different categories. So therefore, within the material world, Radharani's expansion are known by all of these particular. So this is as part of Krishna Lila. That origin of that is this Yogamaya. And from there, she manifests into all of these like that. So, like if you go to near Jammu, there is Vaishno Devi.
Yes.
It's a beautiful temple, fantastic pilgrimage spot. Like that, Katyayani Devi, and all of these are part of. But origin of all that is Srimati Radharani, energies. That's how Srila Prabhupada explains. Like that. Okay, yeah.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for the wonderful class. One of the key points I got was that as a Vaishnava, we should surrender our plans to fulfill the plans of our spiritual master, or our master. I want to ask on a practical basis, in a world where every man for himself, especially in the Western world, and things are very topsy-turvy, what guarantee do we have that we'll be okay at the end of the day if we give up everything for our Guru or for ISKCON or for anybody?
Basically, there is a three-pronged approach: Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. And Prabhupada also says that devotee has to be independently thoughtful. So therefore, you have to make the choice based on your current situation. And you have to follow these three guides. There is a Guru. And when we say Guru, many times people just translate as initiating Guru or something. No, basically one who's guiding us on the path of bhakti, one who's helping us enhance our Shraddha in pure bhakti. Right? And therefore that's the principle of Guru. Therefore Shri Gurun, multiple Gurus, like that. So sadhus are the different devotees and Shastra is scripture. So when you put these three together, and then your experience also matches positively with what you are following in these three, then you take the next step. Right? So you take first step. And then when the first step is positive, then you take the second step. So there is no risk if you are taking one step at a time. Nobody is telling you to jump 100 steps. Okay? So you can relax. Thank you so much. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, thank you for today's class. So I was you just said that, as a Vaishnava you should learn to forgive endlessly. And I just had a question that when somebody forgives, do we wait for the other person to apologize, or we can just forgive without even somebody coming?
You want negotiated forgiveness. Well, the idea is from our side, our intention should be clear that we want to do it because it's pleasing to Krishna. But it's a very detailed topic. The main thing is the principle should be there as a seed form in your mind. So you're always open to that idea. And the details of how you do it in different situations may vary. Right? Sometimes the situation may require you, because sometimes you are caught in such a complex institutional web, that the right thing to do is not to forgive now, but take the person to court. So as I speak on behalf of ISKCON, so we are having multiple court cases between Vaishnavas. So when I am sitting here saying forgive, so it may appear contradictory, but I have to give the disclaimer that we have spent millions of dollars making the lawyers and advocates rich by spending taxpayers' money on court battles between Vaishnavas who could not forgive each other, who could not come to a compromise. So that's also the reality, right? So if you look at even Calcutta, one of the institutions where court battle started in the late 40s, previously there was a huge chunk of land around the temple. Now the temple is there, the temple is surrounded by advocates' properties. Because when the temple did not have money to pay the advocate fees, they started releasing land. This is also the reality. Just to make you feel that there are complex issues involved in forgiveness. That makes you feel better. But as an individual, it is always better to have the culture of forgiveness and the willingness to do it. Right. So shall we do something in 5 minutes?
Yes, lot of things.
अरे तुम तो घर का आदमी है बाद में बात करेंगे Madhav from Pune will ask some complex question. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishna Bhutaya Shri Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Hare कीर्तन की श्रील प्रभुपाद की समस्त गौर भक्त वृंद की आय गौर प्रेमानंदे all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. गौरांग प्रभु की जय।
We are very, very grateful, dear devotees. Let us loudly give a deep, deep, deep gratitude to His Grace Gaurang Prabhu for blessing us with His association. Especially for some of the devotees who are relatively new. Tomorrow, this is not enough for us. Tomorrow we have an event in Cupertino. So if anyone wants to join Cupertino, please reach out to me. Of course, the temple devotees are already aware. We'll add it to Achyut Kumar Prabhu's RSVP at the very last moment. he is the host without his permission, I'm saying it. And I also like to, Gaurang Prabhu mentioned about Govardhan Eco Village. I had the privilege and good fortune of visiting Govardhan Eco Village this last year, and very close to Mumbai. It's a spiritual oasis. Once again, a lot of devotees within ISV, Son of Silicon Valley would be aware. But it's a real nice spiritual retreat, as Prabhuji mentioned, temples. One of the most important, amazing aspects is there are devotees who can explain things there, who will take us around in a wonderful spiritual environment, almost 100 acres of land. And of course, in my own humble way, I would really recommend it. This is, of course, especially for a lot of my guests, relatives, and friends. It's very close to Mumbai.
In fact, this year for the Vaisheshika Maharaj's Youth Yatra, they are gonna do one part first in.
I'm aware.
Yes,
We are already in touch
Govardhan
with them.
Eco
I connected somebody to the team there.
Huh?
I connected somebody to the team. Somebody reached out to me and I connected them to the
Yeah.
And the devotees, I also like to thank a lot of devotees who have made prasadam, so a deep gratitude to that. Those who would like to meet Gaurang Prabhu after prasadam will be there. I know some of the devotees would have to leave for Tri Valley or South Bay. We can give them priority. At the same time, those who need to leave, let's give some priority to seniors in age. And of course, everyone. Feel free to take the prasadam anywhere. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
And we exit from this back door and we can start going around in the line so we can have an easy access for the prasada. Thank you so much.